everybody, it's Brian. I actually wanted to do a lot of videos on my work because I've done a lot of work on this bus. And part of the reason is because I kind of turned into a bus nut, and so I'm on all the forums and learning about all this kind of stuff. I've been around equipment, firefighter, career firefighter for 15 years, and so I always enjoy equipment, learning things, and so 2 years ago I bought this 94 MCI coach, and so I use it primarily for church and for different things like that, but I own it myself, I take care of it myself. It's run through my company. It's set up as a not-for-hire, so I can't make money on it, which in a business world doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. I love doing it, and I also love being able to help the community and be available for different church functions, whether it's youth stuff or senior stuff or whatever. But the reason for this video is I am actually listing it. I am selling this bus, and so I've been really thinking about and trying to figure out what is the best plan for me. And right now I need more seating capacity. So this current bus is set up for seating 41 people, and I'm looking at getting, this is a 40-foot coach, so from the back to the front is 40 feet, and I'm looking at trying to get into a 45-foot coach. So the adventure continues, but the first step is I gotta sell this, and so I've had a lot of interest in it. Actually, I've posted it, and so instead of trying to answer a bazillion different questions, I thought, well, I'm just gonna make a YouTube video for those that may be interested in purchasing it. Or what it is, it's a 94, so it's an old bus, so there's still lots of little things, but if you get into buses, it's really kind of a treat, and if you do it smart, you can do it right and do it well. With anything with these buses, you have to realize that anytime there's an issue, you need to plan on like thousands of dollars. It just seems like nothing is $100, except for the last fix that I had. I had an air issue. It ended up being the air governor on the compressor, and it was $19. So I was really excited that that's all it was. But hopefully this video is also good for those of you that are looking at getting into buses or getting into converting a bus. I have benefited immensely from YouTube and what people have put out there for content. And the next bus that I potentially get, I will have content on that as much as I can. I still have a lot of video that I haven't edited yet of things that I've done with this, as far as like the LED headlight upgrade and rewiring into that system, and then also all the interior work, and then some of the mechanical maintenance stuff that I've done to this bus as well. I'm also going to show you just some of the things that, as a bus owner, that I think are pretty important to have with you in the bus, and some things that have been helpful for me when I've been working on stuff, because I don't have lifts, I don't have a jack. If I'm working on the bus, it's in the parking lot, and if it's in the wintertime, it's freezing cold out. If it's in summertime, it's blazing hot, or the mosquitoes are going to carry you away. So some friends of mine and some other individuals have been great with helping me, and yeah, we just work through stuff, and hopefully some tips that will be able to help you if you are considering getting into a motor coach. It's a big decision, and it's not for everybody, but if you like learning stuff, if you like wrenching on things, you like problem solving, and you have funds available, that's kind of the key. Otherwise, these will probably bury you in credit if you're going to rely on credit cards to get you through this. But if you have funds available, they are really a pretty rewarding investment. So, all right, I just want to make a video of a cold start of the bus. For Minnesota, this isn't very cold. It was about 50-some degrees last night. I ran the bus yesterday. This is kind of one that sits for a little while. The back airbags do bleed off. The front usually stays for a month probably before that starts to drop off. And actually on this, I know exactly where the leak is. There's just a small little leak on the rear tag on this side, airbag fill on the inside of the engine compartment. Hasn't affected anything. It just, after about 5 hours or so, or 6 hours, the back end just kind of sits down. So I just wanted to show you what a cold start's not plugged in. It's not anything. Basically just sitting in the parking lot. All right, this bus does not have a key. It's just switches. Here's our engine power. Gauges are up. Let's see if it's cold. So install the voltmeter up here, so it's nice to be able to see the 12 volt size. You just double it to find out what your 24 volts are doing. Start. here. Every now and then you'll get a little bit puff of smoke on a cold start, but really not much of anything today. Fast idle. Oil pressure. When it's cold, I get around 65. It drops off to 40, I suppose, 35, 40 pounds at low idle when it's warm. Wintertime, I don't know that I ever dropped down below 50 psi for oil pressure. Fuel gauge, it's about a quarter tank off, so I would say right now it's at about 3/4 of a tank of fuel. Let's see if I can do it without shadows. So we're building air pressure, primary, secondary. Higher RPMs, these like 14.4. Obviously our temp is still cold. Alright, let's give you a quick tour of the front, driver's area, entry area. Basically entryway, treads coming up, REI system. The monitors and all the stuff that would normally be up here has been removed. The monitors removed, that was all removed before I got it. It was the old heavy monitors, and they said they rattled so bad that just wasn't worth keeping. I did replace, it's got a CD player that appears to work. I did replace this unit, hoping I could get at least the stereo to work, but it still doesn't work. So there's an amplifier just outside the driver's section here. I'll show you after. I think that amplifier needs to be replaced if you want to have the stereo speakers working through here, but I just use a Bluetooth speaker and it works just fine. This is the HT740, which is this is the transmission before the B500. It's still a digitally controlled, I believe it's a 5-speed, but you don't have the selectable upshift, downshift. Basically you can select what gear you want it to stop at. So if you hit 3, it'll start in first gear and shift up and stop in third gear. Obviously first down here is your parking brake. High beam, low beam, push button down there. This is your air horn. Down here is your controls. It's actually a really comfortable seat. Has adjustable armrests. It's got air. It's all air operated. It's got air lumbar. It's got a bunch of different features. There's your heat valve and recirculating air control for the front driver's area. You get a little cubby here for keeping stuff. I always keep a temp gun so I can check brake temperatures, engine temperatures, stuff like that. So that's kind of what I keep in there. And then of course there's no cup holders in these things, so you get creative with whatever works. I do have a camera system. That's the rear camera. I have the rear engine compartments open, so you can't see that really right now. I have up to 4 cameras, only have 2 now, so I have one also on the inside, which is mounted right up there. You do also have a mirror, but I wanted to have a camera system, primarily for the backup camera, to be able to see what's behind you. The speedometer is inoperable. In fact, there's not even an odometer on it. So I've got a nice Garmin GPS on here that I use for speed. All the indicators do appear to work correctly. You can do the bulb test and then it comes on. Except it looks like the blinker one here is not blinking. Okay, so all of them but the right blinker are working. Controls over here. This is your step or your door control for opening and closing your door. Just had this system all bled out, and so that's all working properly. And then there's step lights here and then down below that come on and then go off when the door's closed. You do have a driver's light here. There's a fan up over here that will blow on the driver if you just need a little bit of extra air circulation up front. This is the coach lights. That turns on. I have it, I bypassed one of the relays, so basically the window lights and the center lights all come on with this switch. This does still have the air operated wipers. Right, left. This one does get a little bit finicky in the wintertime when it gets cold. I don't know if there's some moisture, but we've gone through the air system and put in a new desiccant cartridge in and did some work with that. So hopefully that'll help remove any of the any potential moisture that might be in the system. Gauges, so we've been running here for a little while. We're still right around 60 psi. I can show you that in the back engine compartment as well. It matches digital control, so if you want to, oops, sorry, trying to do this in video at the same time. You just adjust your temperature up, adjust your temperature down. When that little light on there means the heat valve is open, and so what it means is it's circulating the hot water through the system. If you want air conditioning, those controls are over here. So this was your coach power, and this is your start button. Mirror heat, I have no idea if it works. This is your fast idle. Just drops it down. This is your AC, so if you want the bus to, so as soon as I did that, the AC kicked on. And even though the AC is on, I learned this, it's actually controlled, the temperature is controlled by the heat. On these older MCIs, the air conditioning runs wide open when you have the switch on. But when you, so like right now, if I put it at 70, you'll see that it's actually calling for heat, even though the AC is on. And so the heat is what actually controls your temperature. When the AC switches on, the AC just runs wide open. So I didn't know that. I thought you had to shut the valve off in the back, and I was told by an MCI shop that nope, that is just for maintenance only. And then this has the overhead AC. So if you want AC for the overhead compartments, it's that switch. This is the driver's AC, so you kick that on. There's another heating and condenser underneath here. This panel comes out, and then you can get access into all that. But then basically it blows your air conditioning up there. This is your overhead compartments, so high and low for blowing out your the individual vents on each of the seats. This is your defrost, all the way on, all the way off. Down here is your dash and gauge illumination. Mirrors, those don't work. This is your cruise control, so the cruise does work in here. It's really nice. Cruise, set, and then you hold it forward to accelerate, down to decelerate. And then down here is your lights. This bus obviously has had switches going over the years, so it's got stickers on here that kind of tell you what each one of the things are. So this is your parking lights, this is your headlights, and then that is your four-way flashers. That's part of the REI system, does not work. That's for the Webasto preheater. The gauge, it's unplugged right now, but when you plug it in, the gauge does turn on, but the Webasto is disconnected in the back and is inoperable. I don't know what's going on with that. And this is your emergency. This does not have the air locking compartments, so one benefit is you don't have to deal with that malfunctioning and not being able to open your exterior compartments. They all have individual locks on the compartments themselves. So yeah, so that is the front area here. This horn doesn't work, so it's just the air horn. And I think that's it. So I do apologize, it is wet. It's been raining all night long, but this is the bus, the front. These are the upgraded LED headlights that I have that also have integrated turn signals. Absolutely love them. The old halogen headlights were just miserable for nighttime driving. These have made it so much better. All the lighting works. All the running lights are all LED. The only standard bulbs now are just these side indicators. All the lights are in working order. All the glass is in great shape. I've replaced the drivers. When I bought it, the driver's windshield was broken, and so we replaced the driver's window, so that's brand new glass. All the rest of the glass on the outside is all in pretty good shape. Tires, for the most part, are all in good shape. Quite a bit of tread on these tires. Date range, they're probably, you know, a little bit older tires, but they've all been good. We've been keeping an eye on them. Airbags, for the most part, on these have all been upgraded or replaced. So it's got all newer airbags. The only thing that I think is probably in need of being replaced is going to be the shocks. But otherwise, undercarriage-wise, really just surfacey rust. This bus originally came from Nevada. Right now it is, or then I bought it from a church that owned it since 2008 down in Iowa. So it hasn't been pounded with salt a ton. Most of the rust is really just from sitting outside. I'll show you just any of the other little spots that kind of come up. But otherwise, you know, looking down the side, it's nice and straight. Actually, I waxed it last year. You can see it's still beating up. So the paint's in pretty good shape. In the right angle, you can still see Coach USA from being down in the Nevada sun. The rest, all these compartments are all in good shape. I'll do another video. This is your AC, new brushes in those motors, so those are good to go. Rear compartment, rear tires, all Alcoa. I take that back. The inside drive wheels are steel, but all the outside rims are Alcoa aluminum rims. Again, tires all have nice tread. Airbags, all in good shape. Like I said, they were replaced just before I had purchased them. You can see how the new bolts right there. Very nuts. Rear tires. I put used ones on here. These are super heavy duty. These actually came off of a cement truck. These are a 10-ply heavy duty regroovable tire. They probably can be regrooved one more time. We're getting a little bit of tread wear. You can probably see the outside is a little bit getting more worn than our inside. And usually that's just a sign that that bearing in there is just starting to wear. And what happens is it just kind of tows that back tag axle in a little bit. So we're just monitoring that. And then back shocks, you can see here, this is one of the ones that's bad. The bell housing itself, actually, I had to cut it off because it came loose and was just rattling around. But down here, you can see they're fine. But down there, the bushings and stuff are all shot. So for sure, it needs two new shocks if I was going to do it. Or if I was keeping the bus, I would just get all four in the back. And quite frankly, I would just do all the shocks so that you know that everything is updated. Back compartment, pretty good shape. It's got some spots where the paint's kind of starting to peel off. I just kind of come in with some white Rust-Oleum and touch up any of the stuff. Usually these buses are known for rusting out kind of right in here. This bus though is all in good shape. No surface rust on there. I've seen a lot of buses that I looked at before buying this one that I really liked, but they're starting to rot out there and I didn't want to have to deal with that. Back, all LED. I added a third LED upper brake light. It also has a camera. The wire running up on top is I added an extra antenna to help with the signal. It's a wireless camera, but it's powered off of the running lights. So LED running lights. Those two bulbs are regular bulbs, that upper one and then that one there. But your stop lamps, turn lamps are all LED. Backup lights are LED. Currently the backup lights are not working. There's a fuse up in the front and I need to work with C&J to try and figure out where that fuse is so that I can get those working again. Passenger side, pretty good shape. Same thing, some spots here. I washed it yesterday. I use a pressure washer. I don't get real close, but every now and then you get some things that'll kind of flick off. So I just come back and touch it up. This got doinked at some point in time. This back section here kind of got pushed in a little bit. That was before my time. That was previous owner. Wheels and tires on this side, same story. It's hard to tell, but yeah, you can see we're getting down to the inner markers here, but yet still open there. So same thing, just monitoring it. Tires find used ones can be pretty cheap just to throw on there. This is your tag axle. So drive tires in here, in good shape. Airbags, all new. I don't know the exact year that they were put in, but it's fairly recent. These tires are in good shape. Watching just a little bit of weather checking coming in here. So if you're going to be going super long distances, it probably won't be the worst thing in the world to change out this outer drive and the other outer drive. Walking on the side here, there's a doink. On that side, sun. Kind of rubbed up down on the bottom here. But yeah, again, no rust here at all, which is good. Battery compartment, here's your fuel fill, and your front two compartments. Front tire, this tire looks like it's almost brand new. Lots of meat on it, so. Rims are in good shape. They're a little bit dirty now. I had them really shined up last year, so they do clean up really well if that's your thing. Airbag, again. Primarily just surface rust up here. Everything else on the bus, I know I've got some pictures on Facebook of it up on the lift. You know, there's no structural rust or anything like that on this bus, which is nice because a lot of these you can get into some costly issues and costly repairs with that. Alright, so here's your tour of the coach with kind of everything opened up. This bus used to have a step, even though it says kneeling bus, it's not a kneeling bus. It had a step that was all removed and capped before I ever bought it. So what I did is I just made a little step here with the handles, just really slick. Just throw it out there and it works perfect for, especially our high schoolers, not a big deal. They can make that. But when you get a senior, it's a little bit of a reach to try and get up to that step. All the compartments are all good shape, nice and clean. No real corrosion in these ones here. Insulated, all the lights work. This one's kind of all my storage stuff. So when I talked about things to have on a bus, 20-ton bottle jack, this is key. It says it in the name, labor-saving wrench. It's just a cheap, but it's a 1:64. It's a torque multiplication tool. So basically, that's the tool there. So for taking lug nuts off, I've got a wrench for pulling off the chrome caps, and then this works super slick for just cranking, and it just takes the nuts right off. We've sat out here with huge 4-foot bars and heat trying to get lug nuts off. Get one of these. This will save you your back, it will save you tools, it'll save you braking stuff. Well, you can still brake stuff with these, but you just be careful with it. So, and I've got just reflective insulation. I put a bunch, I use it for the windows when I'm storing it, because it gets stored outside. But kind of look through the other side, and compartments are all in good shape. Storage here is, keep all your stuff, lavatory drain. I carry extra diesel fuel with me in case I have to ever pull off a fuel filter and change one out if a fuel filter gets plugged. Saves you from having to siphon fuel. You can get your new filters filled up with fuel, screw them on, and it'll prime right away. So I always carry at least a gallon of diesel fuel with me. Extra oil, coolant. I carry another larger fire extinguisher in here. Spare belts, all that kind of stuff. Triangles. Yeah, so that's kind of all the stuff in here. Extra fluids. I always try to just be prepared for, in case something happens on the road, I can deal with it. This is your fuel fill. This bus is set up for, 227 gallons. So it's a big fuel tank. You can go a long ways with this bus. Battery box, 2 brand new 8D batteries. Those were installed last year. I also keep a battery warming blanket on them for when it's stored in the winter time, just to keep them from getting real cold. I also keep a 24-volt battery maintainer, so they're always for winter starting. That's the primary thing. When we're up north here for stuff sitting outside. The relays, inverters and stuff like that, another set of triangles. This is also where you have access to your filter for your HVA system. So you open up those two things, and then there's a filter that you pull out, and then you can clean that filter. So that's for your passenger air conditioning heat that blows up around the windows. It's your battery switch, your main disconnect. Hope that works. It's a little dirty, but otherwise good shape. This is, I always just carry extra wood and cribbing in case I need to jack or I need to drive up the front tires up on blocks just to be able to look at something. I've never had to on the road, but again, coming from the fire service, I'm always trying to be one to be prepared. That's the compartment to be able to get access to the blowers and the condenser and stuff for the HVAC for the passenger compartment. I'm saying condenser, but it's an evaporator. It's evaporator. I'm sorry, I think I'm saying it wrong. I also have an extra jug that's transmission fluid. We switched and did a full synthetic transmission flush on this bus. The only real corrosion that I have, we have a little bit of corrosion starting, which is known from these buses right in front of the rear drive wheels. But again, nothing significant at this point. I've put rust inhibitor. I just kind of put it in there just to try and slow the spread. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Everything's still there. It's not like it's rotted out or anything. So that's really the only rust on this bus is right in there. But otherwise, all the rest, compartments and everything are all real clean. Back compartment was a brand new remanufactured AC compressor that was installed. This one is running an updated refrigerant. Here's your battery post for doing your jumping. This is your auxiliary coolant tank, which right now there's a pump kind of way up in there that you access actually from this outside compartment. It either needs to be primed or that check valve is bad, because what happens is the coolant backfeeds and pressurizes and fills this tank. So if I were to open up that valve right now, coolant would just pour out. And so I just pump it up with a little pump in a coolant jug if I ever need to top off anything there. This is the lavatory, that's where you fill that. This all functions. So there's your drain valve that drops down. That's where you check your transmission. Here's your drain for your first air condenser, which is kind of right, not condenser, but it's an oil and water collection right there. And then this is also where you can bleed off your rear tag axles if for some reason you're stuck or you're in a low grip situation. You can just turn those valves. Down here is the engine. It's kind of hard to see. It's in pretty good shape. We've got oil. Our main oil leak is kind of right up in this corner over here. A lot of it's actually coming from the alternator, the front seal. It's an oil-cooled alternator. So it has engine oil that runs through it, and I'll show you on the front side. It kind of bleeds down. I also get a little bit of power steering fluid that leaks out of that up there. Otherwise, there's the new air governor. This is your air supply line, that big foamy looking silver stainless thing. There's your starter. Transmission is way up in there. But otherwise, frame and stuff, again, all surface. Everything else is in really good shape. This is broke, but it's actually really handy. So when you need to be in here, like when I was changing out that air governor, I could actually put my feet down. And I would imagine that's how it got broke the first time, is that someone was in there working on something and broke through that. I installed just some thermal insulation and sound insulation on all these panels. Engine compartment. Everything's pretty good shape in here. This is a new belt. These belts are in okay shape. I carry spares, but if you're going to be going to California, probably won't be the worst thing in the world. I'm supposed to throw some new stuff on, but I'm primarily in-state travel, so anything that I do is just in the state of Minnesota. There's your radiator, and this is your intercooler for your turbo. Down here is the block heater, which in northern Minnesota, this is used a lot. Basically, the bus just stays plugged in, so it's always, the coolant's always heated. Your oil fill is here. Your power steering fill and check is there. Oil check. This is the alternator, and you can see down here all the oil that's accumulating, and it's actually running down from that front seal on there. So not a critical thing, just gotta deal with occasional drips. I also have a little bit of a leak from the power steering in here, so that's why I have primary. If it sits while it's running, we get a little bit of a drip kind of right up in here. Otherwise, everything else in here is pretty clean. Up here is your Webasto. It's your preheater. Like I said, it's currently not working. I installed a new oil pressure gauge back here just because it'd be nice to be able to see. Here's your remote for being able to control the bus from back here. Service lights are all working. And then brand new air filter. So basically all the fluids, everything is done on it. It's got transmission fluid, oil's been replaced. It's got a brand new air filter. All the filters, transmission, coolant, fuel, and oil filters, there's like 7 of them, have all been changed. So you don't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. So I'll just show you on here. We can do air switches for your fans are working. It's got a brand new muffler. I have another bracket that's kind of a homemade bracket that we did when we swapped out the muffler, but I do actually have another MCI bracket. It's in the compartment, so that goes with it. This is your rear electrical panel in here. So it gives you access to a bunch more relays and controls, engine control stuff. Here's your service valves. Like when I bought the bus, I was told you close this in the wintertime and then you open it in the summer. I was later told that nope, you just leave this. Because up here is your electric switch, your valve that opens and closes, and that's what allows the coolant to be able to circulate and heat or adjust the temperature inside the passenger compartment. Otherwise, here's this. Not much I can show you. So there's the filter. That's how you know it's an HT740. Is it's got a big external transmission filter on it, so that's that red filter right there. And otherwise, yeah, that's kind of it back here. And then, like I said, here's just the driver's side. New brushes installed on those blower fans for the AC. Some extra parts. I do have one shock, because originally I thought it was just one shock that was bad. I was just going to change that one out. Here's a new MCI muffler bracket, and here's a replacement pump for the coolant, which I didn't show you, but there's a switch on that yellow panel for coolant fill. Here, I'll just show you. So way up on top there's your sight glass. And what I do is I just open up that spot on top there, and then I have a little pump, and I just pump coolant up into that, and it works just fine. But the way you're supposed to do it is you have a manual coolant pump fill, which you can hear the pump doing something, it just doesn't do anything. So the shop thought it could just need to be reprimed, but I just bought a new pump just in case. So that is the inside of the outside. Except that I forgot to show you, so this is the front electrical compartment. It seems really scary, but I have all the schematics for everything. It's basically just relays and terminals, like the lighting control, things like that. This is the amplifier that I think is bad. It's either this or this. I would probably just replace both if you want to get the inside speakers working. There's your washer fluid, air horn, and this is down underneath. This is all your steering stuff. Your spare tire and everything is located up on the front on these. But it's got fairly new air lines throughout, so all that kind of stuff has been done, which is nice. This is your lever for opening up the front. And what you do is just push it down and it locks. That's how you get access up to the front. And down underneath here obviously is your spare tire, so it does have a spare. And then there's more pneumatics and stuff down here. Some of it for this is for the step, which is no more. But there's also, there's still other stuff. And somewhere up in here is the fuse for the backup lights that I need to find. So that, I guess, is the full thing for the outside compartments. All right, we'll do a tour of the inside. This is your switch for opening and closing the door. Inside of the door, mirrors are all in good shape. Treads are, they're showing their signs of wear, but they're all still intact. Shades are in different states. This one goes down, and you just kind of manually go up. Driver's works well. Upper one, you can adjust. Passenger one, same thing. There's a manual release here for this one. Inside, overhead compartments. All the lights, I've updated a bunch of them now, so most of all the lights should be working. Both your window lights, your center lights. There's also, you can see, I think there's 2 under seat lights, and then there's a rear light over there as well. Seats are in okay shape. I would even guess they're original to the bus. A lot of the undersides, the suspension was shot. There was nothing left, so I rebuilt all the seats, washed all the, I have a whole video on that whole process. That was a ton of work. And I also repadded all the headrests. A lot of these from people walking, these get all smushed in, so I redid all the padding in the headrests, because a bus like this, it's not worth putting $15,000 worth of an interior when these work. So armrests, these are all adjustable seats, so they can recline and then come up. Passenger heat and AC, there's quite a few that, most of all the bulbs now I've replaced so that they do work. Air vents, some work, some don't. They all blow air. Some of them, they have a little adjustment on the inside to open or close. Some of them are not there. Window shades are all in place. Most of them are all in good shape. There's a couple that don't quite latch, or they're starting to get kind of worn. Overhead compartments, driver's compartment. This is kind of where I keep all the cleaning stuff, manuals, extra things like that. Everything else is in good shape. No water, no leak issues. All the glass is all nice. Anything that's just a real faint amount of, you can't even see it probably in the video, just kind of on the lower edge of a couple of windows, but otherwise there's no fogging. They're all clear. The seats, like I said, are all in pretty good shape. Center armrests on some of these, they put little stoppers on there because otherwise they drop back. There's a couple like here that have fallen back and they need a little bracket just like the other seats have. Footrests, all the seats have footrests. This bus is really set up for students, so it's got 3 tables. So these seats are all reversed with a table in the center. I was going to try and point out one of the seats that's in rougher shape. Oh, here we go. So a few of the seats have been stitched, but again, everything is in a condition that is certainly functional. These are your overhead AC units, there's 2 of them. Back seats. biggest table. So it's got cup holders in it. I redid all this. Basically what they did is they used an old seat frame, which is why we're down to 41 passenger. There should be a 47 passenger coach, but it's only 41 because of these tables. We lose 6 spots. Back seats, all new gaskets and everything. Here's an engine access panel. There's another access panel underneath these back seats. All the gaskets have been replaced, so it's much quieter in here. We don't get near as much of a diesel smell inside of here from when I bought it. Bathroom, it's got the lights. They all work. Bathroom's in good shape, nice and clean. Has a flush toilet and a sink. He's got a big mirror. The back side is a mirror. It's got a little vent opening, which most of the new coaches don't have any kind of an opening in the back here. That is the bathroom. So here's just a shot looking forward. And then I think this here, since I've done all the repairs, I see I've got another little spot that has come out, so that needs to be taken off and restitched. But otherwise, there's no other open tears. It's just, like I said, some that have been stitched. I thought there was one other one that was. But yeah, otherwise, like I resealed a bunch of them. I kind of changed my technique halfway through redoing all the seats. And a lot of the newer ones I actually fully almost encapsulated because the foam is just starting to wear out, and so you'll get a little bit of orange foam dust that'll form after 3-4 times using the bus. You'll see foam kind of underneath the seats, but some of it just depends on what you want to do with the bus. If you're looking to gut it and get rid of the seats, then that's not a big deal. If you're hauling people, it's not a big deal either. It's just when you sweep it out and vacuum it out, you're going to have a little bit of foam dust that'll be on the floor. But otherwise, the floor is in pretty good shape. This bus originally had a driver's seat here, so I purchased this off of a used bus from another one. That's why it doesn't 100% match, because the original one was a little bit higher and it had that seat here. But I needed the hand railing to make it easier for people getting in and out, because otherwise there would have been no hand railing on this side. So you can see there kind of where the old one used to come down, and actually get more legroom now on these front seats because this is open where the other one was enclosed. But again, windows all in good shape.